And this is what I was talking about, guys. Like, if you go to Oakville, there's even a street with his last name. That they knew this was going to be happening. He knew he was going to be great. I mean, he's such a natural player, so Kerr Street already exists, like I said. And even his opponent, like, he's got a whole sport named after his family name, bowling.
That's true. That's true.
Welcome to the Metal Lab, now featuring intro music and funny pictures to cover up the buttons on my screen.
It's funny because we don't get to hear the intro music, so I don't know what it was.
It's just dead air for us.
Yeah, it's silence and my face gone for them, and everybody else gets to, like, hear this cool music, see a title card and everything, and I'm screwing everybody's brains up. I'm joined this week in our post-Canada Cup wrap-up by Mr. Mike White, who's been here for a few episodes now.
Hello.
I'm joined by Jay.
1 or 2 episodes, you know.
And I am joined by, as well, the two-time ROC Canada Cup winner, Mr. Tom Kerr, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah! Hello, everyone. Welcome. Or rather, I welcome, or welcome us all. We're all back, and I'm back as well. It's nice to see you. Hello.
Hey.
Well, right? Let's start again. Oh, wait, we're live.
We are live. We don't have to start again. We don't get a chance to start
We're
again.
live, bro.
It's a good thing I didn't screw up the whole title sequence, otherwise everything would have been terrible. Or if I have screwed it up, nobody's telling me in the chat. What is going on? I can't hear Jay. What?
Nice to be back, everybody. Sorry I was away for so long.
We missed your lovely voice. It's
Dulcet tones.
The sultry dulcet tones. I've gone back to old episodes just to listen to you to help me
They
calm
are
down.
dulcet. Yes. I sleep well after Tom episodes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Between the dulcet tones and charts,
Yep. It's
like
just
a baby. Like a baby.
Put you right out.
Wait, Tom, you're back. Does this mean the return of Tom's charts?
Certainly, as soon as it can be, yeah. We have a new battle world set in the way.
Yep. Awesome. So it's a good start to our first week of 7 episodes per week, as it were. Let's see if me and Amber can keep up with that. With my luck, I'll have another late day at work. All right. So there's not much in previous country. Scott Porter did release his first set of unboxing videos, which, you know, that means for us soon. Yep. Me and Amber we're watching the post the post boxes going. But we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the ROC Canada Cup today and our general experiences from that. Of course, if you're watching us live, bother us in the chat. We love you. We love you all. And we're gonna we're gonna start a little differently. Usually, for some reason, I go in the face orders, and now that you guys can see the face order that I deal with, it would be Tom, Mike, Jay. But we're gonna go that usual thing of who's got more of a story to tell. And Jay was the judge, but it's always good to have that outsider's experience or outsider's idea of everything before we all embarrass ourselves with what actually happened. So, Jay, from the outside looking in, how was the tournament?
That's not up to me. It's up to everybody else. I haven't heard.
Was it enjoyable to watch?
In general, I find competitive HeroClix enjoyable to watch as a judge. But I don't know if everybody else had a good time. That is either up to them or my fault if they don't. But I haven't heard any negative feedback. But if there is,
Here we go.
I feel like Jay is running for a position in City Council in our upcoming elections because, wow, way to not answer the question.
It was definitely fun watching all the games because it was very, very diverse. Like, that would have been a good time to play at, and I'm sure you can all corroborate that.
Well, some of us can.
I actually, except for the one team that I can't remember, managed to get down all the archetypes we had at the event. And pretty much everything that's popular now is well represented, except for, I guess you could say, there was no Blackbird.
I was going to say, there was very little X-Men in general, was there?
There's at least one X-Men team. I know Jason was playing.
2. Ryan Bell and Jason O had X-Men theme. No Blackbird.
Yeah.
No Avengers theme of any kind.
And Ryan
there was
Bell
a Chase Hawkeye.
was very budget X-Men.
Hmm?
Ryan Bell's version was very budget.
Right.
Well, I don't know how much his awareness of the game is played in, because I wouldn't call Lila Cheney expensive. He just might not have known about her.
Well, I think he was also using cable.
Well,
Right, but I'm saying he was using Storm as his multi-taxi, but Lila isn't really expensive. You said budget. But
he is kind of obviously warming himself back into the game. I guess those
Yeah.
monthly pieces are easy to miss.
He's
that's
adapting.
true.
He's adapting to fatherhood or HeroClix post fatherhood.
yes. Yeah, I'm not.
Yes.
It's understandable to not be caught up given all that. He hasn't played competitively seriously in like I think we figured 1.5 years. So,
How old is this
but
son?
otherwise, I can go over the data. Although some of these do overlap because, for example, Starro teams were Cosmic, but I also have a category for Starro, but I also have a category for Cosmic. So there is a bit of overlap. We
Gee,
had
sharks.
Hey Jay,
Yeah.
sit up a little. Thank you. We have an icon that's covering your mouth right now.
He's like Wilson.
You're good. You're good now.
Home
You're good now.
improvement
Is it in
reference.
the
Nice topical
middle?
home improvement reference.
Do they go in the middle?
So you see where
How do I
the
hide
you see where
behind
the
it?
head or the
wanna hide
headphone
behind it.
like the microphone, phone, and camera are in the middle of the screen. There's currently a big black
Yeah.
box that our fans who are watching can see.
There.
Well, not on you. Only when you're active on screen. So like, I'll only click on who's actually talking. Yeah. So now you're on screen, but you're fine.
Oh, so here?
Yes.
Here? I'm in the
It's
box. Out of the
Yes.
box?
I'd
In
say
the
it's
box.
covering the bald spot, but it's
Yeah,
all
so I was
bald
going to say,
spot.
as far as we're concerned, you have a full head of hair.
Right? It's perfect. It's perfect. I was thinking inside the box.
Yep. Oh.
Hello.
Anyway, Jay, sorry, continue.
I'll start now. Thank you. We had 4 Sam caps, and I believe how many were? 4 of them were in the top 8, and both of them were top 4 because both Jimmy and Matt Ryan were knocked out in top 4. None of them were very similar. I mean, they were Matt and Jimmy's were similar. Actually, not really. They shared Sam. They didn't really share anything else. They both had Sam and a bunch of retaliators, but otherwise they were pretty different. Jimmy was running his usual Doc Ock, Rennet, Sam, bunch of retaliators, including Groot. He was carrying the Walking Woods, I think. Whereas Matt Ryan had Lockjaw and Sam being carried by Pip the Troll. Also a lot of retaliators. Emily was there. Who's the other one? Can't remember.
Trevor was playing.
Yes,
Yeah.
Trevor was there with he had a claw shredder along with some other stuff like a Joker and whatnot. That was pretty cool. But Sam was decently popular. Ty, I mean, I guess one of the higher tiers as far as categories of teams go, archetypes. 2 Starro teams, which were also both Cosmic theme, 3 Gotham City theme teams. We're hearing a lot of talk about Gotham City Underworld, but apparently, because random characters like Joker and Green Arrow get Gotham City, that means that Gotham City's good. Also, Anarchy is Gotham City. Whatever.
I know I've been talking about Gotham City for a little while now.
Yeah, I mean, Mike's been on Gotham City. Tom is obviously on Gotham City. We know that.
He rode that all the way up.
Yep. Oh, yeah, Fast Force's Penguin being Gotham City was a really important thing.
Yep.
Like, if not for that,
Well, both penguins from that set.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying specifically Fast Forces, which was on both Mike's and Tom's team, was pretty important.
You can see where WizKids came along and sort of figured out their mistake, as it were, and stopped giving those guys Gotham City and made them Gotham City Underworld. Like, none of them are like that in the current set. All the villains are Gotham City Underworlds. Everybody else, it's like Batman Family, and then the Cursory would get Gotham City. All Batman Family also, in essence, get Gotham City.
So basically, moving forward,
it was around the Harleys that they changed.
Once Joker's Wild retires, which should be this coming rotation, I think, unless I'm forgetting something.
No, next rotation
That'll
probably
matter a
has it
lot.
gone.
Huh?
I think you're right. Next rotation has it gone.
What's the oldest set we keep? I mean, it's gonna be weird if we lose What If but not Elseworlds, because What If was at Worlds, Elseworlds wasn't.
Are we losing Avengers?
Yeah, Joker's
Yes.
Joker's Wild was a 2016 release date.
Yeah.
Avengers
November or
Defenders was 2017 release date.
So I feel like the
May.
line
I'm pretty
gets-
sure Elseworld is the bubble.
Yeah, I'd almost say somewhere around Avenger. Yeah, Elseworlds What If will be the bubble area where it's like those will probably both stay.
Because Elseworlds
feel like you're
was
more
July.
right.
Yeah, Elseworlds was July of 2017, and What If was June of 2017.
Yeah, they were sort of sister sets, so I assume they'll probably both go one way or the other. Probably stay in.
I feel like they both
I feel like
stay.
they'll be in. Yeah,
I don't think that What If is a cancerous or important set to go now that Goblin King's been whatever.
It'll also date line up with what's the word I'm looking for with Civil War, because Civil
But
War
also,
is set.
How does New Worlds affect rotation?
They just got to use the date. Because WKOs happen now. They run WKOs.
Yeah, that's true.
There's enough for them to say, hey, man, let's just go run on the date that we're running right now and not have that, like, just lose that two worlds rule. I think that's what they need to do myself.
But basically, giving Penguin Anarchy and Joker Gotham City was a mistake. 5 cosmic themes, which included Devon's Moondragon team, the 2 Starros, and others that I'm forgetting. I don't remember.
Two idiots brought Ninja Turtles and Ninja Turtle villains, so.
There was two random teams, one of which was Aiden's Mikey, Space Mikey, Hulk, Carnage, Jason made weird team, Red Leader, whatever. And I also counted Derek Rattan's Hawkeye, not Avengers team. It was like Hawkeye with Hammer, Big Tony's. It was really weird and random, so I counted that as random.
It looked random, but I'll explain how it looked.
I understand what it does. It's just not a really. It's a Hawkeye canon, but not Avengers theme. It's but whereas your Fast Forces Turtles team is almost a theme team, you just break it a little bit. So you have 4 turtles, whatever. 2 X-Men themes, neither of which performed really well. The one Team NT villain team, which didn't do...
It did about as well as mine.
Yeah. Full Point Goblin King.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did not perform so well. It did not get to buy the first round, but it ended up scoring low enough to get to buy the second round. I can't remember how many wins or losses the person had or what their name was, but other than that, yeah, that happened. 1 Mistress Death, 2 monster themes, which was Patrick Chow and Stan. Patrick did okay, I think. Won some games. There was 2 different shredders, one on Trevor's team, which was the Claw, and I think Stan had a mini with his monsters, because those are all monsters. 1 Chase Hawkeye period. There were 4 teams which had at least 4 retaliators. We had Jimmy and Jimmy, Matthew Ryan, and Trevor, which had the 4 retaliators. And technically, Chris Stockhouse had 6.
I was going to say, Chris Stockhouse, he had 8.
Didn't he actually use retaliation against you with a Flora?
He didn't. He could have.
He had 8 retaliators, mind you. Because he had 6 Floras, Groot, and Van Gogh. It was amazing. I don't think he ever lost Madroll.
He did. He lost Madroll to me.
How?
In our first game.
Plus 11?
Well, no, he had a plus 10.
Yeah.
Was it 10?
Yeah, plus 10.
Yeah, I had a plus 6.
Yeah. Hey,
So,
it can happen.
It's only a plus 4 for him, man. I rolled wicked high. He rolled wicked low.
Yeah. Despite PJ being at the event, he didn't have any Floras. Also, despite the fact that
Chris was using all his Floras.
Yeah.
Chris even said so because Chris had stacked up action tokens to counterbalance their weight so they wouldn't fall over. And his comment was he would actually attach weights to them if they were his, but he was using.
Yeah. PJ has 17 though, so I don't think he was. I don't have one day.
I'm pretty sure I would get thrown out of my house. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to fit in my house.
You had 17 Floras. But that's the list. So really diverse, and even among the archetypes, there was a lot of variety. No 2 SamCap teams were the same. And I think everything performed basically as well as expected, except for I guess the X-Men theme. I don't know what really happened there. Or maybe he had bad matchups or whatever. Because you can definitely have bad matchups. There's no I can win everything, or even I can win 90%. It's like matchups are important. So
no Unimind that I saw. Was there?
I didn't expect any because I think I'm the only person who was ever really playtesting it recently. But
Yes, it's always out there.
It exists, and we have more Eternals coming. Although the Eternals in Battleworld aren't looking exceptional as far as Unimind use goes. So we'll see.
Well, I mean, a smart player can take advantage of people not paying attention to the figure anymore when it sort of slips out of the main meta. You could eke out some wins if you all of a sudden bring him back for a tournament. People aren't prepared for it. You know what I mean? You could be really surprised. It's not like he's bad. It's not like he's been nerfed, really. He still does everything that he does. Yep. I think it's just people really figured out a lot of ways around it.
I also figured that somebody might expect a random Darwin to show up with the X-Men build. Like, Patricia was playing it for a while. I
guess if he's out of the meta long enough, then everybody kind of will just move on. And then, like Mike says, anyone who's kind of paying attention to the trends will see the right moment to bring it back out. You never know. Kind of like Spiral.
Yeah. I think the other problem is that the Blackbird is a perceived threat and always has the pocket leech option to go with, so that's just really scary.
Yeah, true.
But that's pretty much it from my perspective. It was a great tournament as far as I can tell, but I'm a little biased.
Well, I think it was really well run. I think that I really like the venue a lot. This is the new location for CBA, so great for them. And it was really well judged. And I'm not just saying that because you're here, Jay. In fact, because you're here, I would be more likely to say this was terrible judging, just Anelia. But I think that you guys did a really good job. You weren't being obtrusive, but you were on top of things when you needed to be. This is how active certainly when you got to the top 8, that's kind of how active judging is supposed to be. You'd only quickly kind of confirm things when they needed to, but you never got in the way of the action of the game. So it's great.
I like to think so.
I think so.
No, it was a fabulously run event. Like Tom said, love the new Comic Book Addiction location. It was big and bright right away when we walked in. Solid open space there in the back half to have gaming tables and have a good, solid gaming event. Judging was solid. You guys were there always at the right time with the right answers. I think I really only heard one, maybe two people sort of arguing a little bit, and those were some of the usual suspects, as it were.
But there was nothing unexpected in that area, and I almost had to give a warning.
Yeah, it was great. It was I can't say enough how much I enjoyed going to events that Comic Book Addiction runs. They get the numbers out. You have a good time. I have never left there, whether win or lose, feeling bad. In fact, it was their big 51 people event that was a sealed for, sorry, not Trinity War, the one that had...
World's Finest?
Yes, World's Finest, thank you. I pulled the biggest pile of crap. I did. I had like the worst horrible team, and I faced off against like an uber team of the Prime Superman and the Spectre and something else right off the bat, and just got ruined in that whole tournament. Didn't win a game, but I left there feeling so fantastic because of the way they ran the event. And that's just kind of what they always do. So, kudos to them. What a fantastic, fantastic event that way.
Yeah. I'm very confident in saying I think they're the best venue in the Greater Toronto area.
I totally agree. 100%.
Yeah.
I wish they were running nationals.
Yeah, there are lots of venues I like. I'm not slagging anybody, but I agree. I do think that they are the best. It says something. It also says something at the end of the night when you've been there for however many hours it is, that the people who are running the thing are still there and engaged with the goings on. They're not looking at the door. They're not leaning on their elbow or texting on their phone constantly. So it will be fine. Like, especially, the people who aren't actively running the event, but it's their store. They're engaged with the thing that's happening. They care. And we get a better I was going to say product, but we get a better experience for being in that type of an environment. I mean, this game is already so defined by the social element and the sort of sense of welcome that it comes in the community here. It's great to have the people who are organizing the event feel like they want to encourage and be a part of that community, as opposed to simply sort of house it in the hopes of selling product or something. It's great.
Yeah, they've been doing a fantastic job ever since they started, like Mike said, from running the wins and everything like that. So I'm hoping at some point they get something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That said, I know, Mike, you had a little bit of time or you were on a bit more of a time constraint, so I'm going to let you go next, even though my story is probably a little shorter and more complainy.
It'll change the energy.
It's okay. You can go next. My start time changed for tomorrow. So
good.
You can go next.
All right. So my story is very short. My story is very short because first round I got paired up against a player who was not there. So oddly enough, I got a bye. Now, those of you who haven't been watching Into the Mind of Madness, the show is now officially aptly named. I played 4 of the Fast Forces TMNT Unplugged Ninja Turtles in the form of 2 Michelangelos and 2 Leonardos. And then to back up that team, I had a Peace Machine. I had an Overdrive to get them in, Peace Machine to keep them taking a bunch of damage, a Boxing Ring to go to, which I never went to. Because, and I'll explain myself in a bit, along with 2 ID cards, a Professor X, and a Wolverine, mostly in what I had kind of situation. Now, let's get the complaining part out of the way. Jason is an idiot. Jason needs to heed his own advice and practice his teams beforehand. Because if I would have had a little bit more practice with this team, I would have never written that article for Majestics. I would have burned my second box of Fast Forces figures.
Oh, come now.
Okay, no,
there was a Mudman in there.
Okay,
give them to me if you don't want them. I'll take them.
I said the figures.
I'll take them to heal your pain.
Figures, not the bystanders. Yeah, it did not go well for me for a lot of the games that I played. One game went well for me, and it's because my opponent's dice just failed him. So, first round was the bye. I got to look around, see what was up, and I was already a game behind on what I should know about my team. Round 2 was up against, well, spoiler alert, the guy who won the thing, Tom Kerr. Was that right? It was round 2. Yeah, round 2. And problem 1, I didn't test my team. Problem 2, I didn't look at Tom's team. And didn't realize that he had, like, in addition to the Green Arrow that he had, 2 Cyclops ID cards, and it was like, maybe I should have been a little bit more aware of that, and also known how to count squares, because I placed myself very precariously, what I thought was out of the way, and what turned out to be right in the way, as it were. So I ate a tank shot very early. Tom was able to get my Overdrive down. I killed this tank and played keep away for as long as I could. Because that was the best option I had after the tank fell on me and after Overdrive was done for. So, killed the tank, his ID cards were popping, and just generally did my best to keep that point discrepancy in my favor. But once he got Peace Machine, it was pretty much academic from there. It's like I couldn't chase with my team once I lost the Overdrive and Peace Machine, and any amount of extra work that I tried to do to get to him was thwarted by, Tom playing properly and us both knowing how each team plays. Is that the whole situation of I can't get there, I know I can't get there, and Tom can get here, so I got to try to limit him getting here somehow. In hindsight, what would I do differently? Absolutely nothing. That's kind of the problem. The team outclassed me, and Tom outclassed me as well in the fact that my absence of attention span failed to catch what was about to happen to me, and my failure to count some squares out didn't help either. So, long story short, Tom beat me, but it wasn't like, if you look on the scoreboard, I think it was like 90
to 66, I think.
Yeah. So, like, it was a very close scoring game. Second round was up against Chris Stockhouse. The March of the Ents is a scary thing to look at across the table, man. Especially when your opponent has a +10 to his dice roll, so you look at it and say, well, the only way that dice roll can go wrong for you is if I keep rolling 12, you keep rolling 2s, and so there's no way of me winning a dice roll on that one. So he got free reign of the map, put us in the rock water map, and Floral Colossals, well, they get big fast in there. And my team couldn't get there fast enough. And it didn't help. One of my most important attacks, and this happens to me a lot, when I don't have probability control, and I build a team, and then I have to make a Hail Mary shot. And what happens when I try to make this Hail Mary shot? I miss. I miss everything important. I called in my Professor X, my Brood Professor X for this one. Targeted 2 Floral Colossals and a Walking Wood. And my goodness, if I could hit at least anything but a Walking Wood. Because that now put me 5 points behind, but I also had to run away, which is not the ideal situation for me to be in. And, you know, I spent a lot of time this weekend dodging Star Foxes. At least 2 of my rounds, I had to dodge Star Fox's range and Mjolnir and stuff. And everybody who tells me go in the boxing ring, I want to tell you, something happens when I raise my defenses or drop my opponent's attacks. Their dice do this weird thing where they can't miss.
It's a leveling effect.
It's an effect that Amber has. It's an effect that every one of my opponents has. It's like, okay, well, you need a 10. Well, okay, that was an 11. But okay. All right, so you need an 12 to hit. Well, okay, well, that's a critical hit. Great, cool. All right. This is my life. And that's why I don't think I should have played the boxing ring. I have that inherent fear of that happening. And too frequently as well, I should have known better on this one. I've used it against my opponents more times than they've used it against me. So I feel like it was a bad decision all around. Anyway, my game against Chris, I couldn't stop the march of the ants. It was impossible. I mean, he had his share of missed attacks or unfortunate results, and that happens. But you know, these things happen. And I couldn't get a beat on him. And I was direly afraid of his Mangog no matter what. I was trying to beat Laniton Mangog, but then he put like Floral Colossals in the way. And I was like, okay, well, of course he does. That's a smart thing to do. And, you know, one of the Floral Colossals that I could have killed with the thing would have opened up the door for the Mangog. So like everything just went wrong, and that's another story of this tournament for me. It's just like, okay, so I need my Brood X, even with Perplexes when he had it. I think I was able to effectively use him once, and it was against Tom to kill a Pog.
That was effective. It died.
That Poggy died. So yeah, that happened. Next round was up against Derek Rattan. It was his Hawkeye build that had hammer, and I'm the luckiest man in the world against Derek in this game, because I know in order to do anything I have to go gung-ho with the team. But Derek brings +8 to his attacks on a semi-regular basis. I've seen Derek play it. I've seen him do it, and it's just he's gonna get a +3 to his attack, and the boxing ring is not gonna matter. So I gotta play a positioning game as best I can. So I go all out forward into the boxing ring, which I have closer to his starting area than I do for mine. Hammer comes up and attempts to attack and misses. Oh no! Sorry,
go in the boxing ring more often.
No. He did hit. He did hit with hammer. My bad. He hit with hammer, and he was in the boxing ring when he did it. So I mean, it was a moot point. But that's okay because that put Michelangelo on perplex. So this is where my call-ins worked for once in my life. Wolverine. Well, sorry, for 50% of its life. I call in Wolverine. Wolverine flurries, hits one of the attacks, can't finish off with the other attack. Oh boy. Yeah, eventually I think I finished off hammer with a Leonardo. Oh no, sorry, it was a TK from Peace Machine. A TK to heavy object down. I was like, hey, I got to do something. I got to get this guy down. And that was the Hail Mary shot because he had energy shield and he was in smoke. It was like, maybe my luck can turn. Okay, it turned for once. Cool. I got the hammer, and then he tried to chase me down with the Hawkeye, and it was getting close to the call for time, and he makes the attack with his Hawkeye, and the first attack critically misses, and he didn't have prob, and I'm just like, oh, because Hawkeye was about to score 100 points of tokens alone, but with that change in my luck, he ended up getting a couple more points than last round was called, but he was the one who went first because he chose map, and he had a penguin on his team, and he was using the penguin's lounge, so he had a bunch of pogs. But I just ended up killing like 100 points in the last turn. It was a bit of a bloodbath. I ended up killing Hawkeye, killing a Big Tony, critically missing with one of my attacks, calling in a Firestorm, and killing another Big Tony with a it was a bloodbath on my last turn. It was just like, oh, that felt good. I go into my last round against Kyle Gilmore. He's got a pretty standard, fair Cosmic build with the Unseen, Star Fox. What was it? I think I rolled an exact hit, LeBron.
Presumably Lockjaw?
It was Lockjaw and a Skyscraper Wonder Woman and a Groot. So what's my goal here? Get the Colossals out, because I got gun forward, try to go get the Colossals. It was a little bit of footsies for it, because I kind of get to middle board. I made 2 attempts at the Colossals. The second attempt worked. He accused me of one point of running away. He's like, no, I was running past you. There's a difference. Right? It was like at the end of the game, he's like, yeah, man, I thought you were going to run away from me the whole game. He's like, no, I wasn't running. I needed those Colossals gone so that I can attack. Right? So anyway, the first attempt is, guess who? Brood X, Professor X Brood. And guess what he did? Did you guess yet? Yeah, he missed. Because that's what he did for me. This is why you bring prob, kids. This is why you always bring prob. I was praying that he would critical miss at one point so I could have Firestorm on my team. Anyway, so after that failure, I take my guys on overdrive and go for a drive around. Eventually base the Groot and the Skyscraper Wonder Woman. There's no getting away from some of the attacks, but he did use a lot of attacks trying to get a Leonardo down. Got a token off of the Leonardo. Another 25 points gone. And then Groot and the Skyscraper Wonder Woman get killed by a single flurry from Michelangelo. Now I'm safe to attack, but I can't get to anything. And when I do attack, it all misses. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare of misses. If I think the only 2 attacks I did nail were the flurries on the Skyscraper Wonder Woman and the Groot. And I mean, just I was fighting. I was there. I was face blocking shots with Leonardo, taking tokens just to eventually get some flurries off. And if I could hit for the life of me, I probably could have had a better outcome, but it was not for me. I ended up going 2 and 3 when you consider the bye. That definitely didn't get me in the top 8. I told Amber going into the 5th round, I needed a terrorist attack to get into the top 8. So, my day did not end particularly happy for me, but I mean, part of it is I was frustrated with an unpracticed team, and this is one of those things you want to avoid. Frustration is to get some games in with your team before you go to an event, or make sure you're fully aware of what's up and what's where when you get out to these tournaments, because I mean, I had an idea of what my team was doing, but then in the grand scale of it, it felt like a less good version of the X-Men team. It's really what the Turtles and Overdrive felt like to me. So,
do you think there's still potential in those Turtles, and it's just maybe a question of the build, or is it are they maybe a bit of an outside pick, no matter what?
I feel like they're an outside pick, regardless. They didn't have a good game feel to me. All right, Mike.
Yes.
How was your day at ROC Canada Cup?
It was really good. Well, obviously, to start, was happy to go to CBA, like we mentioned. What was good for me is I've been lucky enough to have practice events. We've had these regular Wednesday during the day things at a local gaming shop closer to my end that sadly doesn't carry clicks, but have been kind enough to let us use their space. And I was really I was sticking with for a while my old team that I played at the WKO and tried at Nationals and finished second at the WKO. So it was a pretty solid team, like a lot of people are using with the whole Star Fox and Unseen and things like that. But I wasn't loving it. It wasn't really. I wasn't vibing for me. I wasn't really into it, and it felt like somebody else's team. It didn't really feel like my team. And when Tom and I'm pretty sure it was it a sealed event, Tom? What event was it we were coming back from Comic Warehouse? When we started talking about Batgirl.
warehouse was. It's a good question. Was it sealed? I
Was
can't
it
remember.
sealed, or was it actually provincials?
Maybe it was provincials. It
Maybe
was
it
that
was
probably was that
provincials.
long ago. Wow.
Yeah, okay. I think it was provincial. So we started talking about Gotham City a lot, and we started talking about that Batgirl immediately, and how much we both liked her, and we saw the potential in her, and we both were spitballing ideas of things. Tom really was pushing towards the direction of what he eventually went with, which turned out to be the right choice. For me, I adjusted another way, but I also feel like mine was the right choice. I actually really happy with how my team played out.
A couple
And
dice rolls could have changed the outcome.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
yours is
Honestly,
just viable.
my two losses, which I'll explain, I could have very easily have won as well. And both those games, I made a mistake in trying to map out something complicated that ended up taking a lot of time. And then being the first player, I wasn't able. Last action got called in every single one of my 5 Swiss round games during my second player's turn. Not once was last action called when it was actually my turn. So that was tough. It was tough to see that kind of was going to go that way. Anyway, so what I ended up going with, which is different from Tom's, bit of the same vein, I went with title Batgirl, Fast Forces Penguin, which is just a perfect combination. Right? It's synergistic. It's 95 points of Gotham City. Here's your free attack every turn to be able to keep getting plot point tokens. And the easiest plot point token to get, Perplex. Yeah, I think I very much would like to have a modifier. At 70 points, she's calling in Wolverine. She's calling in Professor X. She's calling in Cyclops. Like, you know, she's got it all. She does all that stuff. Sure, as a title character, her downside giving +1 attack to your opponent, that's not so good. But man, she just does so much, and the most expensive title ability she has is 3 plot points.
And also, like, honestly, even of the downside, everyone has a way of cranking their attack values. I just assume in competitive settings that attacks don't miss.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they do it, obviously, but you know, +1 attack, there are far worse ones than hers.
Totally, exactly. So, you know, we were both gushing over that idea. So went with that, but then my variation is that I went with an Ace the Bat Hound. I went with the rare Batman from the animated series at the lower point value, the 60-point line, after much playtesting at the higher point value. And part of the reason why was after reading and looking at things, I came across the idea of adding Uncommon Alfred to the team. The reason for that is that he has a perplex that says when he targets a Batman family keyworded friendly character, roll a d6. If we'll pick the value you're going to perplex up, roll a d6. If the d6 is lower than the click number that they're on, you'll get a +2. Well, playing that Batman at 60 points means he's on click 4. So I actually have a 50-50 chance of getting a +2 to whatever value I pick on him. That with the Batarang, which Batman starts with a 2 damage, which becomes 1 with the Batarang. If I get that roll, it's actually a 3 with the Batarang, which is a very reasonable free attack that ignores a whole bunch of stuff. On top of that, as we've already mentioned, I've got that Penguin on the team, so I can throw the loyalty token onto the Batman. There's another boost to his attack. I can pick Perplex from Batgirl. There's another boost to that attack. And we've got Ace the Bat Hound, who could choose Perplex himself. So there's another modifier to attacker damage there. So really, I'm playing a numbers game with the team. And to wrap it up, I added on the Chase Elseworlds Robin. And the reason for that is a taxi. So she pops out the Batwing right away to start. Batwing has 9 movement with sidestep and can carry 2. So this is my Batman Alfred vehicle. I use the Batwing to just carry them to whatever position they want to be in, anywhere on the map. So they're always together because Alfred also has a special defense power that says when he and Batman are next to each other, they each get a +1 to their defense. On top of that, I've got combat reflexes on Batman. So in a lot of turns, I was rolling the Alfred Perplex to perplex a Batman's defense and actually getting the +2. Plus, I've got the +1 just being next to Alfred. So I'm not even worrying about my combat reflexes at this point. I've got a 20 defense regardless. And I've got stealth. So in most cases, I'm making you come get next to me. And again, I've got this taxi that just all of a sudden moves away. It just picks them up and moves to somewhere else. I threw some ID cards on there. I threw 3 faculty and 1 student, Cyclops, Professor X, Wolverine, and the Jean Grey student, with the idea that maybe if I was in a pinch and I wanted to be able to TK somebody like Batgirl or Batman into a better position. Batman does have flurry. Maybe I want to throw him next to somebody suddenly. As well, his defense power says that adjacent opposing characters can't use Mastermind. So maybe a TK to throw him next to somebody before I have Batgirl attack. Who knows? It was an idea there. Never used it. I'll say ahead of time. Never looked to call her out. Never used it. I have a better idea of what I'm going to do with those points in the future. But anyway, so that was my team. And I really loved playing it. I really did. My first round was against Chris Stockhouse. So it was really funny, too, because I don't have Colossal Retaliators on my team. And, in fact, I was one of the few teams there that didn't have any. So against Chris's team, my team looked miniature. Like, I was this very, very tiny little force that's this tall at this one end. And meanwhile, there's this massive – I could not see his team through the trees, to paraphrase an expression.
The team was the trees.
That's why.
Yes, to coin a phrase.
Yes. Also, I paid the 5 points for the map bonus. So the Gotham City map bonus, both to be able to pick that map, which Batman loves because of all that obscuring terrain, which is just with the elevation and everything, as well as if I lose map, then Batman gets a +1 to his defense with 0 or 1 tokens. As the guys mentioned, Chris had +10 to his roll. I had a +6. I rolled very high. He rolled very low. I got my map. There was no water for the flora. So immediately I was feeling really good about that situation. I moved my team into exactly the positions I wanted to move into. I have a way of separating the team into sort of like 2 pods. And this way I'm never worrying about sort of getting my whole team tanked. And often what happens is when you come for one section of it, the other section of it can do call-ins and, you know, either Cyclops or Professor X and shoot you from range, things like that. And often I kind of expect people to alpha strike me anyway, which is why Batman is sitting there with his 20 defense and I got 5 theme props. So my game with Chris, I put myself in the position I wanted to. He started to move up with his walking woods, and he was doing a little sidestepping. He did not roll well on the healing floras. In our entire game, he only successfully rolled it 2 times, and that was on 2 different floras. So lucky again for me in that respect. I think it was turn 2 for me. I was already in position. I popped out Professor X. I threw the loyalty token on Professor X. I jacked up stats on him. I targeted 3 flora, killed all 3 of them, and then disappeared Professor X off the map. So now I'm up 30 points early in the game. He can't retaliate. I was feeling really good at this point. And then he came up and he got really in my face. I survived. And I decided to try and be tricky and go for something. And one of the things you have to really be aware of when playing a title character is you can only use 1 plot point on the turn. And often your brain starts to think, I've got perplex, I've got a half-speed move, and sometimes you almost think you can do 2 of those things, you know? Or you get a little too complicated trying to pick which one of those options is going to best facilitate something. So basically, I was trying to pull off a move which involves my favorite trick of spending the 1 plot point to move her half for free, to then use her to call somebody out so that you're even farther up, like you really surprise somebody with the distance that you can go, and then you still have her sidestep to really back up afterwards and help them disappear. It does work very effectively, but the way Chris positioned things, I really had to struggle to maneuver around his plasticity on his walking woods. And in doing so, I screwed up the order of doing something and was then unable to actually do the call-in that I wanted to do. That left Ace the Bat Hound on the rooftop next to I knew next turn to sidestepping in Walking Woods. And there was just no way he was going to survive it. He had a 19 defense, but it just wasn't going to happen. He had so many rolls in the flurries. He hit, I probbed, he hit, he missed, and then he probbed, and basically he hit him, he killed the dog. Now he's up 55 because I've called in Cyclops, and I'm at 30. And I called something in on a turn. It wasn't successful. Boom, time. That was it. And that was the unsuccessful was when I tried the whole maneuvering. He killed Ace the Bat Hound on the last action turn, and that was it. He won 60 to 30. I didn't feel bad about that loss at all because my team was doing everything I wanted it to do. I made a mistake, which, hey, that's okay. I've learned from it. I'm get better every time, and the potential was there. Chris even admitted afterwards that if we had one more round, I would have racked up a whole bunch of points because I was in the position to now be able to make an attack on multiple Colossal Retaliators. I would have been able to take out Mangog and Surtur, which were the two I was really worried about. The rest of the flora I wasn't so worried about. Their attacks were still low. So anyway, I lost. The good part about a 5-round Swiss, though, is if you're going to lose in the first round, because it'll drop you very far in the bracket, and in most cases, that will put you up against the team that you have a better chance against. There are plenty of good players who end up in the bottom bracket after the first round, absolutely, right? One person wins, one person loses. But there's still always that possibility. On my second round matchup was against Evan Boyce. Evan's a good player. I think Evan's a really nice guy, and sometimes it's maybe too nice when he plays. So he's a little more like casual and lackadaisical at times, but in a really nice way. He wants to play and have fun with you, and I want him to succeed. We've actually played a bunch of games, and I always feel like, man, I want this kid to beat me because he's a lot of fun to play with. He played Mistress Death with Raven, an Invisible Jet, a Maradroid, and I can't for the life remember what else it was. It wasn't Lockjaw, was it? There was one other piece on this team. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting, Evan. It was the Spider-Man, Chase, the one where he can move and then make a closer ranged attack. That part of it, I wasn't sure why. I feel like there are better choices that could have been spent with those 100 points, but I totally know what was going on with the whole Raven Mistress Death thing, which is basically it's the Wonder Woman 40-point Raven, so she can take a power action, you put her within 6, and then you get to put a mystical friendly who is adjacent to her next to her there. So it's a great way to jump. In fact, what is it, like 8 squares you could essentially get if Mistress Death was technically behind. You move 6, you put her to the other side. Is that 8 or is that 9? Whatever. It's a good jump.
It's a good jump. Considering Death's own range, then that's already crazy.
Yeah, and she's got Pulse Wave, plus he's got a Mjolnir there, so that's how she gets Mjolnir right away on his first turn, because you just move Raven, boom, put her on there, and they get to act afterwards, too. It's a placement, right? I got map. I picked the Gotham Outdoor map, which is a great map, because he can't see me, he can't Mjolnir me. I know he can still Pulse Wave me, but that, with all the elevated and angles, I'm not going to let that happen. There's no way I'm going to let that happen to me. Everything went right for me in that game. I feel bad again because even the few times he had a chance, his dice were just not going to let it happen. I murdered the Spider-Man and a Maradroid. I killed a Maradroid first. I made sure to throw Cyclops out. He ran over, killed a Maradroid, because obviously a Maradroid's going to just grab my team and throw him out. And he doesn't have to hit to do it. It's just so easy to do, right? So Cyclops comes out. I put all my energy to making sure he kills him. I poured away, move away. Cyclops disappears. I've taken him out, right? Exactly. Now I feel pretty solid to hide in my stealth. I know as long as I stay out of the range of the pulse wave, I'm not going to have to worry about things. I reposition and I kill the Spider-Man on my next turn. The following turn, I kill Mistress Death one time and send her back to the starting area. And he can't even use the invisible jet because I'm ignoring hindering terrain. So I'm shooting through it, and you don't get the additional +1 defense because it's an additional effect. So if you're not already getting the hindering bonus, you don't get the extra +1. So yeah, I took 333 points in my game with him, I think is what it was, something like that. No, it must have been more than that. Anyway, man, I annihilated his team. Sorry, Evan. That was a tough run for you. My third round was Derek. Mm-hmm. I think was third, and then Sharif was fourth. So, yeah, I had to face Derek Rattan's team. Wow. I know what it does. I've seen what this Hawkeye does. It's ruined teams of mine before. I win map roll again, which is great because he doesn't ignore elevated because he's not doing his trick where he makes him giant with the Wasp title character, and that way he sees around everything. So the elevated helps me and the blocking helps me. I actually could have positioned probably slightly better than I did, but I put the team in the alleyway and I stacked them in such a way of making sure that I had the ranges for probs potentially, and I'm sort of making him come deeper to go for the easier targets, more so that I have range again for probbing. Though he didn't quite do that, strangely enough, and which ended up resulting in me getting my chance that turned into a win. He threw Hawkeye out. I knew it was going to happen. Penguin died first, which I totally knew was going to happen. I mean, there's nothing you could do with a 16 defense on Penguin. I'd actually perplexed it up because I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's see if I can keep him alive. No, Penguin died fast. Ace died second. It's always a heartbreaker, man. Dog killers. I hate you.
I tell you.
Right? I hate you, dog killers. And I love my ace. He's my buddy. He's my best boy. So that was hard. But then he went for Batgirl. Not Alfred. You know? Alfred was a 17 defense, man. It's a juicy. He's already attacking me with a 12. He's got a 12 attack, and I'm like, oh, okay. So he goes for Batgirl. He hits Batgirl. I roll a 6 on super senses.
Damn.
And I was never happier in my life. I may have given an appropriate finger gesture to Hawkeye, and then told him I was about to eat him alive.
A gracious winner.
Yeah, that's it.
Classy.
Derek knew it too. Well, I didn't do it to Derek. I did it to the figure. And Derek knew too. Derek and I laughed about it because he went, oh, immediately when it happened. He knew what that meant. And yeah, I ate Hawkeye alive on my next turn. I made sure to keep myself in a good position that he was never going to be able to attack or see me. I'm not worried about Hammer. You know, everything went right for me after that in that game. So it was a win. But probably the most important Super Sense roll in the history of Super Sense rolls for me was right there. So yeah, so now I'm 2-1. I got some good points now. I'm up in the sort of top half of things, and now I face off against Sharif. Sharif, great guy, love the guy. Person I've actually been play testing with recently, and my team actually is worried about his team. I don't have damage reducers on my team, and he is playing the Anarchy team, so he's throwing these bombs on the map, which really control the map. I showed him a perfect way to actually position them in one of our practice games to make 2/3 of the map a death zone. So, of course, that's what he did. I don't blame him. I would too. The rest of his team is Phantasm, Commissioner Gordon from Joker's Wild, because that's the one with the enhancement perplex, and Green Arrow.
Yep, a small matter of Green Arrow.
Yeah, Green Arrow, and God, there was something else though. I said Phantasm.
Joker.
Thank you.
Penguin as well.
Yes, Penguin and no, Joker was on the team. Joker was a call-in. Joker was one of his favorite.
Oh
call-ins.
yeah. Okay.
So he's doing much the same thing with the loyalty token. Green Arrow, I know what Green Arrow does, right? I win map roll, but I do not pick the Gotham City map. The reason I didn't pick the Gotham City map was because of our playtesting, and I realized, in spite of how much I like that map, that is not a good map against Green Arrow. It does not help me enough. The blocking does, sure, but there's not enough of it that he can't angle shots on me that are only affected by hindering and elevated. I found that out the hard way in one of our practice games, and I had to forego my map, and I chose the WizKid's office because walls hurt him. Walls hurt me too, but I have a Cyclops I can call in at some point to shoot a wall. And funnily enough, that's exactly what I did to kill Green Arrow on my third turn. But leading up to that, I made a weird play that he was surprised at. He positioned his bombs. I put Batgirl in the range of 2 bombs right away on my first turn. And I let him roll for them to blow them up. But I had her carry Ace over and have Ace out of range of the bombs so that on my next turn he could pick support and just heal her back up again. One of the bombs went off, one of them didn't. She took 3 damage. My next turn, Ace rolled support. I healed her for 2. So I was on my second click with her, and now I had cleared out 2 bombs in a section of the map that now allowed me to position the rest of my team to start to do the things I wanted to do. I used Ace to call in Cyclops on my third turn in a position that he could sidestep and running shot to get within 3 of Green Arrow, but on the other side of a wall. So there'd be no prob. In fact, there was no prob for either of us on the roll. But I threw all the perplexes into both attacks and damages. I free attacked on Penguin to put the loyalty token onto Cyclops as well. I hit. I killed Green Arrow in the 1 attack. And then, in a colossal bonehead move, I moved the Batwing up with Batman and Alfred, sitting them on top of a bomb, which I knew I was okay with because all of his team was within 3 of the bomb. And I did it to him in another practice game, and it worked where he was afraid to blow up the bomb, and he was. However, I forgot about Phantasm's special attack power that says you get a +2 to your attack when attacking lower pointed characters. So the 75 Phantasm really was excited to free move next to the 60-point Batman and murdered the 60-point Batman. And then he called out Wolverine, who murdered my 45-point Robin. So now, because he killed the Batwing and Robin popped out, and then he killed Robin. So now, all of a sudden, I'm down 105 points. Plus, I've called in, so I'm down 110 points, and I've taken 80 points. Yikes. But he, as part of it, once he hit, he actually blew up the bomb. He blew up the bomb to hurt Batman. Then he came in with Phantasm, finished off Batman. That had killed my Batwing, which popped out Robin, and that's how Wolverine killed Robin. But because I did the battering attack on Penguin and did 1 to him, when the bomb went off, it killed Penguin as well. So now we're tied at 110 points. Game goes to time, and we do the click off. Phantasm, though, had taken damage from the bomb and tried to make an attack afterwards on Ace and had crit missed. So Phantasm died with the 1 click, so I won, which is crazy. That's why I'm so confused about the order. Oh my God, it was so crazy. When we realized we were both at 110 at the end, we couldn't, like, it was so messed up. So I eke out that win, and now I end up in my 3-1 game against Emily. Oh, a little heartbroken because we know that whoever wins is in for sure, but whoever loses might not make it in. Some 3-2s are going to make it in, but it's going to come down to points. So we've had a lot of great games and we've had a lot of close games. So we didn't feel so worried. We thought it would maybe be one of those games where we each get a good amount of points, but not all and what have you. Nothing went right for Emily. Emily's dice just gave her a gigantic no. Everything she wanted to do just didn't work. Like in most of her playtesting, she would try an alpha strike on Batman, and in a lot of cases it didn't work, and that was okay because she had ways of following it up and figured it out, but nothing worked. Nothing from then on. And everything worked for me. My dice were hotter than hot. When they weren't, I had enough theme probs and regular probs and picking prob with ace that I was hitting and hitting and hitting, and I was annihilating her team. I killed Sam Cap, I think, right away. In one turn. Next turn I killed Shredder Clone, who popped into the shark, and I killed him right away too. Everything went my way, which was really tough. Because, I love Emily. She's a fantastic player. She was my pick to win it all. I crushed her team. I took full points. I lost no points other than, I think, I had one ID call-in. I didn't even need to do my other ID call-ins because between Batgirl free attacking with the outwit charge and then attacking, and then Batman flurrying and then free Batarang attacking, yeah, it was rough. So, yeah, I ended up 4-1. I was third seed after the Swiss, which, wow, I felt so great. I made a team that I loved. I made a Gotham City theme team, named theme. It played great. My loss was super close. So I didn't care what happened after that. My goal was to make top 8 with that team. I said it the whole time. I wanted to prove that Gotham was good, and it happened. So my first round was against Matthew Ryan. Very similar in terms of my plan that I had against Chris, because Matthew, half of his team is Colossals. So I moved my guys out into a position that I like. I'm not really worried about him attacking me right away because, his Star Fox can't see me. His Lockjaw can't see me. His Colossals can't do anything to me until I do something. So I feel pretty good about it. I pop out Cyclops, I think it was, at one point. Yeah, Cyclops. He shoots a Colossal Retaliator. Colossal Retaliator dies. I get some points. Great. I'm in a good position. And then, sure enough, almost identical to my game with Chris, I try to pull off my half move position thing to call out. And while I'm doing all the counting, because Matthew placed these 2 walking woods in such a perfect position with their plasticity that even though Batgirl could ignore the elevated and the hindering, I was going to keep spacing them. So I kept trying to figure out a way. I needed like 1 or 2 extra squares. And in the process of figuring out 1 or 2 extra squares, I had the Batwing carry her on a sidestep.
See where this is going?
Yeah, and then I did something else, and then God bless him, active judging. I free moved her, which is still legal. I could totally free move her, right? It's free action. And then I go to call somebody out, and Jay says, didn't you carry her? And my heart just,
that's
God,
what Jay does.
Damn it.
Destroyer of dreams.
Because, no, he did his job. Absolutely, he totally did his job. That's exactly why we should have active judging, because mistakes happen, and I would have probably felt worse if I cheated Matt of what was then his victory because of something I did wrong. So basically what happened was Penguin was left out in the open. Alfred was left alone on a roof. Matt killed both those figures, took 50 points. And I took so long in mapping out what I was doing that on Matt's turn, when he killed those 2 figures, they called last action or last round. And Matt was the second player. So Matt won 50-30.
Yeah.
So I was out of the top 8. But again, I didn't really feel bad about it because it's not like the team itself couldn't succeed. The player, made some mistakes, ones that I hopefully won't make again. Boy, I've said that before. Maybe that's the next tattoo. I'm just so happy with how the team played. I really wanted to play a named theme team. I don't feel bad about those 2 losses. They were so close. I had so much fun on the day again. It's such a great venue. And Gotham City for the win. And then Tom, tell your amazing story, but it just intensified how happy I was with Gotham City in general. So, awesome day. Awesome day.
Right, I hope your next tattoo actually is no action after carry. Like, it's really specific.
Actually, it should be no action after taxi.
But then I would have to go next to the got pubes one, which is all about the got probs, because of me forgetting that I had 5 theme probs at Canadian Nationals last year. Oh my god! I made a theme team in Sealed. Oh my god! I'm so stupid. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, over to me.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope my internet holds out. So wave your arms frantically when it kicks off.
That might create too much movement to go across the internet.
That's true. Wave your arms gently to finesse it back into working. I'll be the first to admit I played 8 rounds of HeroClix yesterday, and a lot of it is become a blur, even though it's been only 24 hours, because that's just kind of how it goes sometimes in tournament settings. So I'll do my best to recall as much as I can, and I am going to be writing up an article for Majestics. So if those who don't go to that site should, and those who do, hopefully you'll see it there.
And there's the internet.
That was fast.
Did it go out?
Very briefly.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. Well, we'll see how long this lasts. Mike did a good job of explaining the fact that we were on our way back from an event somewhere, and we're talking about Gotham City and how great the new set out, how much there were a lot of good Gotham City options. And I had specifically been thinking, because I've been trying to build a Green Arrow team that would go with Green Arrow on the map for ages, because I always found that he was super cheesy on the ID card, because everyone knows that. But by the same token, I did think that he could be really cool and fun to play, and I wanted to at some point prove that he had potential on the map. Not that anyone really questioned it, but no one had really done anything significantly well with him on the map itself that I had seen. And then George Massue did. So anyway, go check out George's games, and I'll see you guys later. But to be fair, I wanted to play him first. Probably not. I don't know. Maybe George wanted to play him first. We just both happened to win national. Either here or there. The point being that I've been trying to build a Green Arrow team for a long time. And with the influx of new cool Gotham stuff and that Batgirl, who I love so very much, that kind of rounded out a lot of the things I was already thinking. Mike and I were talking about it. And so the team that I put together was as follows. It was Green Arrow, 80 points. We add to that the title Batgirl. We add to that the Joker at 50 points. So that's the ha 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 Joker, basically as a call-in battery that requires 30 clicks of damage to KO. Which is not an easy thing to pull off. The SR Penguin at 40 points as a Penguin POG generating factory, and the 25-point loyalty token Penguin, which is just awesome. I put a Pym particle tank on there, not really with the intention of using it so much as I find the tank really directs people's attention. They want to try to crush that tank before it can mess up their formation, and it makes them really extend and work to get 8 points. if you're gonna like force your team out of its comfort zone and put it halfway across the map because you're afraid of what my tank will do. In the end, I did actually wind up using the tank several times in the tournament, and that's the nice thing too is when you want to use it, when formation really is a problem and you've got to mess with your opponent's layout, then it's there for that too. So my primary purpose in having the tank was as a deterrent and a distraction, not as something that I was really planning on using. But when the time came and it was useful, it was. And I rounded out the team with 5 ID cards, 3 faculty being Cyclops with the SR Cyclops, Professor X with Rare Professor X, non-prime. I didn't have the prime, and I wanted the mind control to optimize aim for Green Arrow, and wanted poster Wolverine because I own it with SR Wolverine. And onto that, we also grabbed the faculty, or rather the student IDs for Cyclops and Jean Grey with the Chase Jean Grey and another version of SR Cyclops, although I did have the uncommon one on the side in case I ever had to face a lot of stealth. A couple of Trouble Alert characters who never came into play, a surfboard because I had 1 point left over, and I did want to. And I love the Iceberg Lounge. When I can win map, then it does me a lot of good to get a whole bunch of penguins out. And penguins are fun. Can you tell me everything's still good? Thumbs up? Good. All right, so that's the team. And if you're wondering what's the sort of the tactic, like what's the trick, there isn't one. This is not a team that was built around trying to do any one thing particularly well. There are sort of 3 prongs to the way this team deploys. The Joker goes up with the tank and works as a call-in battery. And if I need to use the tank, I can call it a Cyclops and use it. If otherwise, he's there to be a deterrent and bring out Wolverine, Cyclops, etc. Try to harry my opponent in their starting area, force them out, take out retaliators. It's very hard to take out the Joker really fast, so I can usually reliably get a few call-ins in with him. Most people don't even try. I've got the second wave of attack is the Penguins, that being the Pogs, not from the map, but rather from the Penguin himself, who can just sort of throw out pulse wave penguins that go over and mess with my opponents in their starting areas and on their side of the map. And then you've got Green Arrow, who's kind of gradually moving up the board, waiting for his moment to be able to make a big shot, or maybe staying back to protect the token penguin, and he can move tokens easily. And protect the other penguin as well. So it's kind of, you don't want to come to me, or rather, you don't want to come to me because Green Arrow can nuke you. You don't want to stay where you are because you're getting harried by call-ins. It's supposed to just kind of force your opponent to a decision and then hopefully try to make them regret it. And when I can win map, the additional seals and puffins, because frankly, who would ever take an Emperor Penguin? The additional seals and puffins you get really are great for doing things like grabbing a light object, going and standing next to your opponent's Gloss Retaliators and trying to take them out with object attacks, or in the case of seals, just normal attacks. Grabbing your opponent's objects. If your opponent's playing a symbiote, you go and fly your puffin on top of it so they can't just TK somebody onto it until they kill the bird. If somebody's playing light objects like a sword, at one point, one of my puffins just stole a sword and then flew back to my starting area, so they couldn't have it. So it's just shenanigans. And in the middle of all that, you've got Title Batgirl, and I think Title Batgirl is just one of the most versatile pieces in the game at this point. She does everything so well. She's very well defended because she's got super senses and stealth with a heavy defense number and a deep dial. She's extremely mobile. She ignores both elevated and hindering when she moves. She's got sidestep, decent movement, and the ability to remove plot points to take free movement. That's great. She's a good support fig with starting probability control. She can take perplex using her plot points. She can get it wit using her plot points. And she's a decent little attack. Add free attacks as well. You put all that together, and there's nothing she's not doing well. And I'm a huge fan of that. So that was the team. As I said, I'm not going to go into laborious detail over 8 rounds of tournament, or else we will truly be here all night. But the sort of the high view of this was, I came in, I'd been practicing quite a lot with Mike, with Jay, and Emily, and Devin, and Sharif. Lots of people able to help out while we would meet on Wednesday afternoons, because this was a team that needed a lot of practice for me. This is very much the practice makes your team better, what Jason was talking about earlier, in reverse. He said the Turtles gave him trouble because of a lack of practice. This team did well for me because of a lot of practice, and I was really grateful to everybody who let me practice and also practice both when I'm on my own map and when I'm not. Because as it turns out, the one thing, even though I was very lucky yesterday, the one thing I was not lucky with at all was map roll. I only won map 3 out of my 8 games. Every time I faced another theme team, even when I outnumbered them, I lost map. And once against Jason, I even lost map when I wasn't against a theme team. So my +5 really didn't help much. You're muted, Jason. You're muted. What was that
I
now?
want to point out how surprised I was about that map win.
Well, I mean, like that was just it, and it was the second game of the day, so I was surprised at that point too. Losing map to PJ in round 8, I was like, well, I guess that's par for the course. So anyway, the first match that I had was against Emily. You never want to face your teammates right off the bat, but at least if you're going to face your teammates, let it be in the first round so that one of you will win and the other one, as Mike mentioned earlier, will kind of get knocked down and might have a better chance of building up in the lower brackets. So against Emily, it was a super close game. It came down to 5 points difference. She came across the map aggressively. I had lots of targets, but didn't want to give in to the trap of going for an easy target and letting Groot come over and have his way. So I focused on trying to take out Groot first, which I did with a Cyclops call in. It left her the opportunity to go after Green Arrow, which she did, but she couldn't finish him off. It actually knocked him onto Outwit, which turned to be hugely useful as I sort of just gradually whittled down the rest of her team. At one point, I threw an object from inside the boxing ring at Kite Man, who was outside the boxing ring, using one of the seal bystanders, and that took out Kite Man, and I got really excited and started singing Kiss from a Rose to the delight of no one but me. And it was great. In the end, I did get a lead, and then she would take it back, and I took it back, and she would kind of come back, but I mostly kept ahead. And then in the closing frame, she was able to take out Green Arrow in the last turn, but that wasn't enough to quite put it over the top. So I won the first round by game in some detail. And so, again, you never like to face your teammates, you don't like to face your friends. And in the case of Jason, it was his first game with the team, as far as I know, considering it was a bye before that and you hadn't really practiced. And as Jason said, I think that you were a little harsh on yourself as far as your play was concerned, but it's true that you came out a little farther than you should have. Mm-hmm. And so I got an opportunity on turn 1. And this was one of those ones where I was tempted and encouraged to use the tank as a tank, knowing it was going to put me behind because I wasn't going to score any points off it, but I was going to mess your formation and prevent you getting across the field. And to me, that was worth 50 points because I figured if I could just stay on top of you and keep messing with your formation, then I would eventually whittle you down. And the plan here was to weaken each of the turtles so that once the time came to start taking quarter tokens, then I could hit one turtle, take off their token, they'd heal back to turn 2, turn my attention to another turtle, turn my attention to another turtle. Machine bonus would be somewhat mitigated. And even though the game never got that far, I think it was a good tactic. Because it did mess up your formation. You kind of got back in formation, then a Penguin Pulse Wave messed that up again, and then Overdrive was dead. You took out the Penguin, but that left Peace Machine open for Jean Grey TK of Green Arrow to take out Peace Machine from across the board. That was the point at which I finally took the lead in the game, and then your ability to get across the board was severely hampered, and I had basically a shooting gallery set up. So it was just that was a bad matchup for you regardless, and it was things more or less went according to plan for me, and it was going to be a hard one, kind of no matter what. The third round was against the opposite of Jason's team. This would be the villains of the Turtles with James McMaster, who is a great player, and he always plays something that you don't expect. It always takes you by surprise, and he has certainly beat me his fair share of times with things I didn't see coming. In this case, the villainous Turtles were built around General Trag or Tram or Trabs.
Or Trog or something like that.
It's Trag?
Something? Hello? I don't know. That guy. So James came out. I didn't know. Read the card, folks, because I may well have lost that match if it wasn't for I tanked him early as well, trying to mess up his formation, prevent him getting across the board. And again, I knew I was going to go behind, but I figured I could get it back. He brought out General Triag and took advantage of his ability to attack through a rock to take out one of my penguin pogs. He had one map again, so this was one of the pogs generated by the SR penguin. And I was shocked because we were on the underground map. There was nowhere for me to hide. And now I realized that he could just keep on blasting me with these enhancements he had next to General Trag, and could just take out my whole team turn after turn with these free actions. And I became immediately frightened. I also didn't know that he needed line of fire to do that. So I was really worried. And so I took probably the better part of 10 minutes, and I'm sorry to have taken so long, figuring out how to take out General Trag in one turn the next time, because he has to die. When he dies, he comes back, and you have to kill him again. But between perplexing Green Arrow and RCE all into damage, and then people can't use their defense powers, and Cyclops followed up after being called out, and I got everybody in position to prob. So I did everything right, and was able to take him out in one turn, and then got Joker into position to just sort of get in the way of the rest of his team as he was going across the map. He took a couple Joker tokens off. He did some damage to the rest of my team, but was ultimately somewhat stymied in the close quarters once the guy who attacks through walls was dead. So it was ultimately, that was the only match. Put a lot of work into it, but it was good. The fourth round was against Trevor Visser, who is just a fantastic player, and I just so love playing as Trevor. We always have fun, with the exception of the fact that I'm always sweating because he's got great teams and he's a good player. But it's an embarrassment of riches to get to play against great players, and that was all of yesterday. Like, everyone I played against, frankly, is a great player in their own right, and somebody that I was proud to share the table with. So I was very happy with just the fact that we got to have so much fun. Like, the great thing about a competitive HeroClix event is the competition. If you don't like that, you're in the wrong place. And this was really stiff, great competition. So Trevor was playing an Overdrive Taxi team, which was described by Jay earlier. He was bringing across a Claw Shredder and a Sam Cap and some other things, including a Mangog. I won map on that one, which was handy for me because I got to cut the board in half with Joker and prepare for callouts. This was the one time where I got to call out Cyclops on the faculty ID and give my Penguin Pog Force Blast so that their subsequent Pulse Wave knocked everybody into a wall and did extra damage. So I took out a lot of points. Well, it did a lot of damage and took out some points early on, and also took out his Mangog with my Cyclops. So that once he did get to me, which he did, his team was weakened substantially. And I was able to just kind of force the attack. I never finished off his Joker because that's a very hard thing to play. And he did do some damage to me, to be fair. I mean, I don't want to downplay the how good Trevor is, and the fact that he was able to really he was handed lemons and made lemonade out of it in this particular setting because of the fact that I kind of got some lucky rolls and just lucky positioning early on, and he was able to fight back from it and still make a real game of it. So it was great. In the end, I did win when it came to time, and that led to round 5, in which it was me and Devin. I practiced against Devin the other day, and the other day I won map and I couldn't miss, and he couldn't hit, and it was a pretty lopsided practice game. And we kind of speculated on, what would happen if the roles were reversed, and we got to find out. He won map, and then he couldn't miss, and I couldn't hit. He put us on Wakanda. I worked hard to try to get a Mangog out, but I burned my natural prob and 3 or 4 of my theme probs trying to roll an 8, and I couldn't do it. Got Cyclops out of there. I did ultimately take Mangog out with Green Arrow, then perplexed him up and hoped that he could survive Groot's retaliation, but he sure didn't. I burned the rest of my theme probs, and it didn't matter. Green Arrow was done, and then he just started wasting my team. So I don't want to make it sound like it was all down to dice rolls, because it wasn't. It was down to good play. And when you play well and the dice don't support you, then at least you're hopeful to, and the dice do support you, then you can just steamroll. And in this case, I was steamrolled. I didn't lose. Like it went to time, but when it was at time, I had the Joker wandering around Wakanda like a lost deer, and he had almost his entire team. So that was a humbling loss, but I was 4-1. I knew I was going into the top 8. Mike and I went to go and grab coffee and a sandwich and just kind of clear my head a little bit. And in the top 8, I came back to face Chris Stockhouse, friend of the show, and just a fantastic player in his own right. He's one of the most just sort of kind-hearted and generous players you could ever hope to play against. I don't know whether maybe it's all an act to try to lull people into thinking that he's just a nice guy, so they'll go easy on him, and then he beats the crap out of them because he is also an excellent player, but he's just such a great guy to play against. He won map, as you might expect, with a +10, and put us onto the water map, in which all of his Flora Colossals could drink deep, although his rolls weren't great on those. And I was really in trouble. Green Arrow has nowhere to hide on that map, or very few places to hide on that map. I managed to get a square in my starting area where I could, but he's kind of held down. He can't sidestep when he's in the water. He can move around, but he's very vulnerable to being shot down. And I was constantly concerned that that's exactly what was going to happen. Was a well-placed call. It was going to take him out. So this was a very position. He would move up a little bit, and he would move up a little bit. I really wanted to take out both Mangog and Groot, as always, but it was made very difficult on this map because, you know, Cyclops can barely run through the water. It's hard to bring anyone out and deploy well in that situation. And he, of course, was blocking his guys with Flora Colossals, who were just healing and healing. So I was able to. I felt I had no choice but to try to tank him early on, even though I knew that was going to put me behind and it was going to be a tight match. So I was a little fearful that tanking was going to be basically tanking my chances at winning the tournament. But anything to clear the way and get Mangog out. It did, in fact, score Groot and one of the Florals that way and pulled Mangog out, but then he just moved Mangog back again. So that was a fun time, but didn't do much. But it did mean that turn to take out Mangog, and that gave me a points advantage, even though the tank was taken out. With both Groot and one of the Floras and Mangog out, now he had to bring the fight to me, and I pulled back. I didn't know what else I could do. One of his Floras got close enough that Green Arrow was able to waste him for a few extra points. He kept the pressure on, but ultimately we ran out of time. I have to be honest, I feel, even though Chris was very explicit in saying that he doesn't feel this way, I just feel like I maybe played that game too slowly. I was nervous. And it was completely out of my element. I was in deep water, as they say. I don't know if anyone actually says that, but I was on the water map, so it's a thing. And so I suspect, another turn or two, and it would have gone the other way. There's no way I could have wiped his team in that setting, and I don't think there's many more points I could have gotten besides maybe a lucky Flora here or there. So it was perhaps more good luck than good management. And it was such a pleasure to play against Chris, as it always is, because he's so very, very good. But I was able to squeak that one out. And that became the theme of the top 8, because I went in against Jimmy in the semifinals. Jimmy, here's one by this game, just kind of I got all up in my head, and I made a dumb choice early on. Because Jimmy had a cloud of Colossal Retaliators. And even though the rest of his team carries across the map, gets into your face, and starts pounding away, I still should have stuck to my original plan, which is take the Retaliators first, deal with the rest later. I doubt he could take out my whole team. Batgirl's very versatile. I could split my team so that he had fewer options, keep Batgirl hidden, and just take my chances. Because the Retaliators were going to be the death of me, and they almost were. Frankly, this is another game where I think good luck was a huge factor, because rather than go after the Retaliators, I took out Rantilli in one go, but the only person who could do that was Green Arrow. I again perplexed him up and hoped for probs to save him from the retaliation, and again I proved wrong in doing. He didn't die, but he took some damage. I took out a Retaliator, and then he retaliated, and I took somebody else out, and other people were coming in. He called out people, and I would take them out, and he would retaliate. The first few turns are so important, and within those first few turns, had I just taken out Surtur and Giant Girl, I really think I could have them over. But the fact I had to take care of each one as they came across made this a huge nail biter of a match. In fairness to Jimmy, his dice weren't the best at times, particularly in the last frames. I got ahead and I was winning, but he had an opportunity in the last round to take out, I think he didn't need a huge number to do. He needed something like a 6 or a 7, and he didn't roll it, and neither one of us had probs, so it came down to that roll. And because he didn't make that roll, that was game. And so it was a real tight one, and I really respect the crap out of Jimmy for that build and how well he plays it. And I kind of kicked myself because I was thrown off my game and didn't play the way I wanted to, and was kind of on tilt psychologically from the very beginning. But then I was in the finals, and I was in the finals against the current reigning WizKids national Canadian champion, who has the unique honor of not being Canadian, like all of our national champions have been.
And that's assumed at this point.
Well, I was thinking, I'm like, will PJ Bolin become the first double Canadian champion of all time? And we rolled for map, and he won, and I said yes. Yes, PJ will become the first. Because, frankly, again, he put us in the water, and I was afraid of what again, the water really throws my team off, so it was a tricky one. And this game is almost a blur to me because I was stressed out and tensed up. It was the usual thing. I wanted to take Starro out. He produced a whole bunch of Starro fights early on, along with Walking Woods, that ultimately all got nuked by one colossal pulse wave from one of my penguins. That was taken off the board in one pulse wave, including, actually, I think the penguin. I think he pushed to do it, so 9. But that's okay. He doesn't lose any points for that, and neither do I. So it's just kind of clearing space, and we're back where we were. I should probably mention, I don't know if it was mentioned earlier what his team was. It was a Starro along with a Lockjaw and a Star Fox and a Groot, and some sideline. And in the cosmic theme, as you can tell, I wanted to take out the Groot. I was able to take out the Groot with a Cyclops attack. He tried to block with Starro, but I was able to get Batgirl into position to call out Cyclops to get the angle to take out the Groot. But that commits Batgirl, and there was no handy hindering around that I could get to. So he was able to get a hit away on her. I can't remember whether it was Star Fox or one of his call-ins that did it. I believe it was Cyclops. Jay might know better than I.
Sorry, that did what?
That took the first hit on Batgirl, because the second one was definitely Banshee, but I think the first was Cyclops. I'm trying to remember how he burned the Cyclops IDs, because ultimately that's what would
I'm pretty sure Cyclops. He just got the angle with Cyclops to shoot.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I just got the angle with mine to shoot his Mangog, and then he just got his to shoot Batgirl, and that knocked her down. She couldn't really run away. I couldn't afford to take the plot point to move, and I otherwise couldn't move away. So we got a second shot on her with Banshee that knocked her to her last click, and then I ran for the hills. But in despite of that, Starro was getting into position to do some other damage, and I had been able to pulse wave his Starro with one of my penguins, and he had colossal pushed earlier, and I knew that he had dealt enough damage to his own Starro between that and between my pulse wave. The Green Arrow could take out Starro with one big hit if I could get it, and so I called out Gene, did the double TK thing to get Green Arrow into the right position, took the shot, took out the Starro. I should probably mention that I previously tanked his team because I was the only feasible way for me to pull Starro out far enough for me to get that shot with Green Arrow. And so when he took out the tank, he said later that he thought as soon as I tanked that it was his victory. And frankly, I was thinking the same thing. I'll never be able to aim to get a shot on Starro if I don't pull him out, and I can't pull him out any way other than using the tank. So I used the tank. He got the 50 points. So it was everything that I could do to get the Starro points. I got the lead back. He went for Green Arrow then with Star Fox after a TK, but wasn't able to get the hit, and I just ran back to my starting area. And at this point, we figured out that I was ahead by 3 points, by one student ID card was the difference if he had taken to what I had taken. Sorry?
Oh man, that point differential.
Right. Like we were right there, and it was his. At this point, I don't have a huge swing with my team as long as Green Arrow can't. I couldn't stay in the water, and the only square of clear terrain that I was in that wasn't halfway up the board was in my starting area, so I couldn't really move out. He outswung me for sure, and I couldn't risk taking out, calling out an ID card, even a three-pointer. First of all, I think I'd already used both of them, and I wasn't going to bring out a Wolverine to put myself into a loss in the hopes that Wolverine would be able to hit. So I basically had to wait for him to come to me. So that's what I did. I just pulled back, turtled a bit, waited for the opportunity, sent penguins forward. He would take and he started incrementally moving his way up. And right around then, they called time. And PJ, after he asked for a pack, he read the pack to think of every power that he could get with Lockjaw, every possible situation, and he ultimately concluded that if he chose Energy Explosion, and then happened to roll Lockjaw with a 2 onto his running shot, and got a critical hit with that Energy Explosion, that he could win the game, or at the very least he could put himself into the lead. And then we'll see if I could have called out a Wolverine to try to get to Star Fox. I doubt I could have. So that was it. And we ultimately figured it was like a series of things absolutely had to happen. We stood up, we shook hands. I think we shook hands. At some point we shook hands. He rolled the dice. He didn't. That was the match. It came down to that last action, that last roll, and 3 points. And that was the difference maker that ended the tournament. At this point, I was completely fried, completely frazzled. I'm amazed that I've even remembered as much as I did. I turned around. They handed me this plaque. It's really cool. I got a travel. The pricing was unbelievable because I got a brick of Batman, which helped me fill out a couple SRs I was missing, as well as another one of the chases. I got this plaque, which I will proudly display, and a travel voucher, which I will absolutely be using to go to the ROC Cup. I'm very excited for that. So, I mean, all I can really say in conclusion, and I'm sorry I went on as long as I did, but I am profoundly grateful to all of you guys, all of the friends I've had that I've been playtesting.
It's a shame your internet is dying in the middle of your grand thing.
Yeah, too. I know. I'm back now, though, at least for the time being. Yeah, sorry. I won't belabor it lest I anger the internet gods anymore. But I only really won through a combination of good luck and the grateful help of the people around me that helped make my team better through practice and support. And I feel like it's such a wonderful community and such a wonderful honor to be a part of it. So I'm really happy. Thank you.
Awesome. It's good to hear that everybody to a certain degree had like a good experience. For all my negativity about losing, that's my competitive nature. I did have a lot of fun with the games I did play. It was interesting to try something experimental. I had no dog in the fight of trying to win this. It was more or less trying to be competitive. It's kind of
Mike had a dog in the fight.
Yeah. It's an ace of a joke there, sir.
Doggone it.
All right. But yes, once again, thank you guys over in Whitby at the Comic Book Addiction. It was a fantastic event. Would do again. Looking forward to more there. Jay, you, Mike, Ryan, all parts of the judge team, fantastic job. Kept everything running smooth. Good job, in spite of the win and bad internet. But yeah, all things considered, it was a really great event, and I'm looking forward to future events in the meantime.
Absolutely.
With that said, I think that's about all we got to talk about today. So we're going to be moving into our fan questions very shortly. But before we do that, I do want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. If you're interested in becoming a patron yourself, check us out, patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Any valuation gets you access to our patron Discord, as well as our patron Hangouts, which we have monthly. This coming month, October 14th, as October 7th, which would be where it normally is the day myself and Amber are at a wrestling event. So we're going to be having a lot of fun doing that.
Nice.
Recovering from Turkey and watching grown men throw each other around. I'm looking forward to it.
Before you get to play them in clicks form.
I don't know. It depends on how quickly Pete Dunne and Mustache Mountain show up, because those are the only WWE wrestlers that I'll be seeing.
That's a fair point.
I like that UK deal that they have, though. I get to see them more frequently. In addition to that, of course, at the higher levels, we have your action tokens in. They're on their way in the mail soon as we get them packaged up. So for those of you who are interested in the $10 level, our August and July tokens. So let's see if I can get the camera to focus on those a little better.
Cool.
They're right there. Married with clicks on the other side. So those will be going out very shortly. Probably tomorrow morning, hopefully. So yeah, that's another thing you can get access to. Very soon, we're going to be reintroducing the Pick a Game, because Amber and I are going to be filming games again soon. And we're hoping to have a lot of fun with that in the future. So we could be reopening that Patreon level very soon. And while we're talking about that, if you're watching us live in the chat, put in capital letters question ahead of any questions you may have for us in this next part, so we can catch them in the chat, as LeBron James himself has been very chatty. I get a good laugh out of that, because it's Jason Collins is talking to LeBron James, and neither of us is real.
Is Jason Collins a basketball player?
He was actually the first basketball player to come out of the closet. That was an interesting day on my phone.
All right.
It's like, so Jason,
what?
What's that?
You what? Play basketball?
Jason, when did you start playing basketball? Was the first question on everyone. All right. So onwards to questions. First question comes from the Alpha Patron, Mr. Michael Fedor. He says, "Hey guys, it's Alpha Patron here. Can you speculate if there might be new meta piece that is the new flavor of the month coming out of the newest sets? Any must-have piece that's coming after Unimind?" I haven't seen anything that screams I'm the new flavor of the month kind of thing. I mean, I know I'm going to, in one game or one tournament that is kind of a whatever tournament, I'm going to bring Title Thor and Odin to the same table and just see what happens and see people's reactions to 12 possible damage. But other than that, that's all I'm planning so far. But I haven't seen enough of the set. Scott has just started unboxing. For all we know, we have a 120-point character with the Weird World trait that could blow us all out of the water, because I don't know if you caught what the Weird World trait does. It says, if you're attacking me, you get no you're attacking me, you get no bonuses. If I'm attacking you, you get no bonuses.
Both
yeah.
ways?
Yeah,
so,
both
for range, but basically, yeah.
They put that on, what's his name? The Magnificent. Akon or whatever his name is?
Yeah. And
but he also has a terrible, terrible trait.
But they put it on the generic man things, too.
Yeah, and Jennifer Kale has it, as we saw in that other unboxing.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think Crystal... I think all the weird world characters have it.
Cool. Awesome. Tom, anything you're kind of catching, or are you kind of on the wait and see still with me?
Yeah, I'm very much on the wait and see still. Another shifting focus character always excites me, and so shifting focus Cap, while not anything to write home about necessarily, I think has some potential. The shifting focus always does, and so I'll be watching that to see what we can do. Otherwise, the idea of playing Thor as a dinosaur is very exciting. I think that's cool, but not really from a DAO perspective. Just it's Thor as a dinosaur. Any kind of dinosaur that cracks the case, down with that. But otherwise, not yet. I'm not seeing anything that feels meta breaking.
Also,
not quite. Yeah.
The joy that comes from saying Dino Thor.
I never even thought of that, but it's a fairly good point. You're right. Okay, you're right. Dinosaur. Maybe Namor. I don't know. None of them seem really that good yet that I know of. But who knows?
All right. Mike has disappeared into the ether, so we'll let Jay answer next.
I'm going to assume Mike would say Namor. That's a fair assumption.
Think he would do.
I don't think Mike would put Namor on the level of Unimind, though.
That's true.
No, there is no
They
one.
haven't
on the
shown. I don't think we've seen the meta-defining figure, or the meta-changing figure, or the best figure in the set yet. Because we still have a ways to go.
Oh yeah,
I think
we see next to nothing in the grand scale.
It's actually. I mean, we have super rares to go. We have one chase to go. We have all the primes. It's weird, but yeah, we will As far as modern goes, nothing. I think there's a lot of ROC'd potential with a lot of call-ins. But as far as modern, I think the best we've seen so far is maybe Prime Common Thanos, but not right now, in the future kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I also haven't seen any title characters yet, I'm realizing. That can matter a lot.
That word "yet" keeps coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. There's always something.
Yeah. All right. In the meantime, next up we have... just got to do the timestamps here. Okay, right. Matt Gardner. What is the dumbest mistake in a single turn that cost you a game? Not counting squares away from Tom. It cost me a tank in my face and then stress for the rest of my night, or for my game. I think that I would call that like the biggest hero. No, sorry, there's a bigger one. I lost a game to Emily chasing down points I didn't need to score. And I think that to this day is like the biggest one that hurts me the most, because I'm smarter than that, and I apparently at that particular moment was not. So don't go chasing shark shredders.
But the problem is that it's not easy to keep track of the score in this game.
Yeah, it's not like Magic where you have a life total, and
it's really not easy at all. I can't blame anybody. I've lost games. So there's so many side things, and it's so difficult. I wish there would be some possible way to pause the timer and just do a count. Like, not if you're not doing an active judging game, like just as a regular thing, because it can really get weird. Like, right. I mean, I KO'd your you could forget that I KO'd your calling character. Like, there's so many ancillary things.
It was a case of bad timing too, because I had such a commanding lead, and then I just dropped a really commanding lead. Like, it was a close to 100-point lead, and then I just gave that up.
That's my absolute favorite thing about ROC'd, by the way. The fact that you can take a moment to breathe and count the score and make sure that you know who's winning at the time. It happened yesterday. People were like, "We do not know who's winning." I was like, "You can count it up because you have the time now." But I guess I have two. But the answers for the question, one is not reading the card issue, and one is literally not knowing my own character. When my opponent was playing it, I'm not sure which is worse. Against Tom, when I based his Jenny Sparks with my head pool, not knowing or forgetting that she could activate her thing with a close attack and not just a range attack. Which is kind of weird, considering it's like it's called like a lightning short circuit or something, which is like, okay, you're gonna thunder punch me. Fair.
Yeah, I like it. I like the idea of Jenny Sparks just like thunder kick in the head.
Jenny Sparks used thunder punch. It was super effective. Pokemon fans, you know what's up.
Yeah, that's why I said thunder punch. But the other one against Jason was basically it was 2 Canada Cups ago. Yeah. The other one that Tom won, funnily enough, we were in top 8. Because they started top 16, we cut to top 8. At top 8, we were both playing the Quinjet, and I picked map because I had theme, because that's what I was doing at the time. And it was on Day in the Street, and basically he had his Quinjet on ground level. I did a call-in on the elevated past the rim, thinking I could shoot the Quinjet, despite the fact that I myself was playing a Quinjet. So I feel like that one deserves the most shame, not knowing my own character when playing against it. But to be fair, that Quinjet sculpt is very deceptive.
It's very big. It's a very big sculpture that is not tall.
Same with the test one in the same set. It's like, WizKids, you're going to confuse people with your humongous sculpts. Yeah. Why is Scotty 20 feet tall?
I mean... Fair. To make you feel better about that game, don't forget that Superman Blue I called in that game. Or sorry. You called in a Superman Blue, and then I the next turn called in Black Canary.
I do think though that you actually got damage, because I don't think everybody was actually adjacent, so it wasn't entirely a wash.
It was a difference between dealing damage and killing like 4 characters and
pretty much it was like I had to
knockback.
I had to look at you and be like, sorry, Jason, none of that worked.
Yeah, it was like,
because he didn't stop characters from being what was it? Like, they couldn't, like, you could still...
Him and characters adjacent to him couldn't be affected by Pulse Wave.
Pretty much, yeah. So, which was funny because...
a ranged attack against you with her.
Yeah, it wasn't like they couldn't be targeted. It was that they couldn't be damaged or something like that. So it wasn't even like the attack couldn't be made. It was a weird situation.
I still made effective use of Force Blast. That's which was the best I could do. All right, Tom.
I wish I had a good answer. I've been racking my brain, but years of steady alcohol consumption has made that not work quite so well. It's including this very night, as I'm nearly finished my very
What's
special
wrong with alcohol consumption?
Yes, I'm finishing this Glenn Farkless 15-year-old that I got for Christmas last year in celebration of last night.
Okay, you have good taste in booze. I get it.
Anyway, for me, there's a couple families of mistakes that I seem to make consistently. One is unnecessary is the why the hell not effect, which is the oh yeah, I'm ahead on points and I don't really need to do anything, but why the hell not go for a charge attack, and then you crit miss and you die and you lose the game. It's basically the I don't see any reason not to do this when there are a litany of perfectly good reasons not to do it. Pushing yourself to death. No action after carry. That was even though that's like the first rule that you learn. I too have made that mistake many times. I have hit Mystics characters that have killed me in order to do them a tiny amount of damage. But the one that I think most defines the frequent error is just forgetting when you don't have leadership anymore. When you start with leadership on the board, then you lose leadership, and you play the rest of the game as if you still had leadership. I do that a fair amount. And although I can't think of a specific instance, I think if you took them all cumulatively, you'd just have a face palming montage to put you to bed by night. So,
all right. We seem to have lost Mike for the rest. When he comes back, we'll get him in on whatever question we happen to be on.
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Okay,
oh my God!
Mike,
The
what's
reveal.
the biggest mistake that you've ever made that's cost you a game?
Where? Sorry, hit me again.
What's the biggest mistake you've ever made that cost you a game? And you've got a glorious one from yesterday.
God, I don't know what's the biggest one, but really that was it. Really,
The freshest one.
the freshest one was too colossal, not calling out to really do what I wanted to do. To go, hey, why don't you shoot this person who's suddenly standing in the map, unprotected? So, yeah, that would be the freshest and the most painful, sadly. Not exciting, I know. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all good. All right. The next question was... I had these, I swear. Oh, that's right. That's why I got this. Chris Stockhouse. Official.
Hey, the stamp.
The visitor has returned. He's being more consistent with the questions, too, which is exciting times. Also, great. Chris, you look fantastic, man. He's lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
He looks so good.
I didn't comment on it because I'm a jerk. But yeah,
it was like the first thing I immediately noticed. It was like half of him was gone. I was like, where is he? Oh my God, it is Chris. Anyway, he had a blast this weekend. Curse you, Tom, for eliminating both Americans. Good job, Tom.
You want to say no?
Keep it in Canada.
Yeah, we got to keep at least one of our Canadian titles, right?
That's right. Well, that was the thing. It was we were either going to have a double national champion or a two-time Canada Cup champion. So that was kind of a cool final.
Two-time Canadian champion.
That's right. A few more times, I'm going to have to start doing a spin-a-rooney.
Oh man, I want to see Tom. I want to see a Tom Rooney.
Yes.
All right.
I have to lose a few pounds myself.
You know what? Practice will help with that. It was the best HeroClix trip I've had in a while. Met some great people and really enjoyed seeing the people I've met at either ROC Cup or various games at Eternal Games. Jason and I are starting a cooking YouTube channel soon, and I can't wait till we film our next episode. That video is coming out soon. We did a little bit of Canadian versus American comparison. Spoiler, it was a Kit Kat, but I'm not going to tell you the results of it.
That sounds cool.
I can't wait until I come up there again. Thanks for the great time. Canada rocks. Thank you very much, Chris. It's a good pleasure seeing you. Not really a question.
That's okay. It's just another good warm feeling from a lot of really great people in this game.
Yeah. All right. Tyler Murrin asks, do you think it would be thematic if the WWE had dials like Werewolves, where they get 4 to 6 clicks of basic dial and then 2 to 3 clicks that are really good that they have to roll to turn to for every turn? I know it wouldn't be super reliable, but I was thinking of ways that a majority of the figures could be designed that would represent highs and lows the characters go through during a match. I'm not sure standard dial is a great option because normally wrestlers don't all come out swinging and their best finishers unless it's someone like Brock Lesnar, Stone Cold, or an RKO out of nowhere. I think that RKO out of nowhere is going to be a sideline active ability.
Sideline active. That's my guess.
But as that 4 to 6, I mean that's hulking out. Hulk Hogan shaking his fist and no, that punch didn't hurt. Ooh, yeah.
To me, that's like a KO effect. Like when this character would be KO'd, then you roll a D6, and on a result of X, Y, Z, then they Hulk up.
Yeah, instead Hulk up. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like they could. There's a million ways they could go with the wrestling clicks because. Me and Tom had this discussion too not too long ago. It's like it depends on where they look at it. Do they look at it as wrestling, the show we watch, or wrestlers as people that we know, right? And that's where the design comes. Like, where are they going to design? I really hope it's the wrestling we watch and this the reality that exists inside of the show we watch. Because, I don't mind the idea of Braun Strowman throwing an ambulance at Superman. That adds to the comic book feel of it, right? So
there's plenty of there's plenty of in comics, basically human characters that have been well represented within HeroClix. Like it's not all Superman, Hulk, Flash, right? There are lots of people who don't have superhuman powers that they can still find creative uses of the HeroClix mechanics to make them work well. And that's where I would rather they went with it than having like these weird, exaggerated, like what was the Super Nintendo game where
the arcade game or something.
Yeah, the WrestleMania the arcade game where like the Undertaker would hit you with a physical tombstone that he pulls out of his back pocket and stuff like that. Like I don't want them to go in that direction with the characters where everybody is this weird like superhero-ified version. I would rather they found an interesting way of doing it. And although I don't love the werewolf idea, I do like the idea of having something that allows you to travel your dial a little bit and find where you want to be. And there's a risk in that. You turn to a better click, but there's a risk that you could get KO'd more easily if you go there. We've seen some characters like that, so.
Yeah. All right. Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah. You pretty much covered it. I mean, there's not much more I can say on that. Thanks, Tom. Thanks.
You know what? Me and Tom have got to stop going first on these things. We tend to over-answer.
Don't worry.
I mean, he really just kind of covered it. I'm sorry, I'm not more helpful.
Jay, anything you wanted to tap on there? Or?
I had literally nothing to contribute from the start, but you talked, and then I have less than nothing to say. Although,
ouch, so mean.
Although, I kind of want there to be a wrestler that does a werewolf kind of thing, like lycanthropy trait on a wrestler would be too stupid and too amazing.
If only there was a current female wrestler who had lycanthropy as some kind of element of her character.
I love how he's making an Ember Moon joke, I believe.
I am making an Ember Moon reference.
Yeah.
I made a tell joke that somebody that wouldn't get it.
I'm glad to be back, guys.
You know what? I'm glad you are back because I need somebody to get my wrestling references in here because WWE is coming and you guys have to accept that. And I need you guys on my level here.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be one of our 7-day shows there, Tom. Me and Tom talk wrestling clicks.
I've said this to you, Jason, before, but I will say it on air as well. The thing I'm most excited for is what WizKids will do with this license besides HeroClix. I don't really care so much for Wrestler HeroClix, but there's a market there for good wrestling board game that has been kind of open since the Superstar Showdown from Gale Force 9, and I would like to fill that gap.
1 second. Let me just open my email. Dear WizKids, me and Tom would like the new board games and Dice Masters product to show on camera. Would be appreciated. Love, Jason. There.
Well, I hope you enjoy being blocked.
I mean, we do get some product from them, remember.
That's fair.
I wonder if Scott Porter is going to get in with the up, down, down guys for the advertising campaign on this one. I wish it was me, but I don't think they'll indulge me. I'm not sending a Canadian to go see them. Are they in Canada? No? Okay, no, I'm not doing it. All right. We're going to go into the chat now, so if you're there, let me know. Now, LeBron James, who I've discovered the identity of, but I'm not going to give it away. What happens if I make a team of 30 10-point giant girls? How do I fit them on the map starting area? Jay, rules, man.
God. You expand one row and one column at a time until you have gotten to the point where you can fit everything. But also, you don't want a map with blocking because then that might kill some of your giant girls. So don't play that, please.
Don't
also,
do that.
That team automatically loses because does that team go all the way across the map?
I don't know. I'm not doing the math on 30 giant girls.
I'm just thinking, because literally the problem is if they kill one giant girl and then poof away the attacker, you just lose because the giant girls can't do anything.
No. I think the uncommon giant girl can still make regular attacks. She doesn't have colossal.
Oh, I was thinking of the fast forces version.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Okay, never mind.
It was the fast forces person. Like,
there was literally actually a game. Because Jimmy had the 4 Retaliators, none of which were that giant girl, and Devin killed everything but them, and it was like, okay, so we just sit here. And they shook hands. So don't play 30 of the Fast Forces. Also, how are you getting 30 of the Fast Forces version? But one row, one column at a time.
Yeah.
All right.
I do like the idea, though, is if there's some space that my opponent hasn't filled on their side of the board and the starting area is that big, I can put my stuff intermingled with their stuff.
I don't think you can. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if this was definitely a rule before. I don't know if it is now, but you can't overlap starting areas.
That's what I'd heard. Yeah, if you hit the halfway point of the map,
I think if you hit the halfway point, everything that you can't place is KO'd. Probably.
Yeah. Gross.
I think that is it.
You could never play 300 Lee and Harpers because there was not enough room. I know that for sure.
I'm still on my quest to get that many.
It's Hawkeye's dream.
Oh, killing babies. Yeah, that's Hawkeye's.
Yikes. Yeah. I don't know if it was killing babies.
I mean, she was pretty young at the time, wasn't she? She looks like a 4-year-old girl.
She's at least a toddler.
Wow. Is that better? The toddler knows that it's happening. That's kind of worse.
Jay, if you've been around enough toddlers, you know that toddlers are just flat out buttholes. Like, there's a worse word I want to use, but they're jerks. Like, before they hit the age of 5, they no empathy, nothing. They hate you. They'll punch you, slap you. Don't care. They'll put things that come out of them on things that are you. This is
gonna get too dark if this goes on too long.
Look, it was already too dark.
PTSD right here, man.
Next question.
I have seen some things.
All you need to do in that scenario is you need to add Cosmo, you need to add Lockjaw, you need to add Ace, so you get the full trifecta of dog killing and child killing, just everything.
Jeez Louise. Wow, we went to a dark place today.
Yeah.
And that's based on my mood on how I played my my HeroClix team this past week. A good reflection to leave us off on that note. Tom, welcome back and congratulations.
Thank you.
Two-time ROC Canada Cup winner. Mike,
thank you
so
for
much joining us. Love you.
Yeah.
Hello. Goodbye.
Jay.
Gotham City United.
Gotham City. What?
On that note, guys, thank you very much for watching us live. Thank you for watching us in the archive. Also, special thanks go out to our sponsors over at majesticccg.com/apex-insiders. That premium $3 a month article gets you the stupidity of a man who went to the Canada Cup and had the nerve to publicly tell people the dumb team he was going to play. Also coming up, Tom's report on that. Also coming up, a prediction article that I have on the upcoming WWE stuff. It's super exciting stuff. Check out majesticccg.com, and for the premium strategy stuff, /Apex-Insiders, $3 a month. Worth the brain dumps from the crazy and the good. As it were, the good. Let's just rate this guy right here. All right. But without further ado, thank you once again for watching. Thank you guys for being on the show with me. Just a heads up, we are going out like we came in, guys, because, you know, the new setup.
Sweet. I'll stand by to mute then.
Yeah. But it goes without saying, I've proven it. Tom proved it. Practice will make your team so much better. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Uh,